Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayandirayat Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Prave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare 327:25 यथा ह्यप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापोपह्वन् भवनर्थभृत् स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered, and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. In the condition of dreaming, when one's consciousness is almost covered, it's not fully covered, it's almost covered, one may see many unfavorable things which cause disturbance or anxiety, some dreams. But upon awakening, although he remembers what happened in the dream, he is not disturbed. Similarly, the position of self realization or understanding of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord makes one completely satisfied, and the three modes of material nature, which are the cause of all disturbances, cannot affect him. Also, in another way of understanding this is we are in a dream thinking we are the body, and when we come to the position of self realization, then all those things that we were hankering for in our dream state, uh, that it doesn't disturb us because we understand that no, that was just a dream. I was thinking I was the body, but I'm not the body. So it will not affect us. And similarly, Prabhupada here is saying that once we understand our position, real position, one becomes completely satisfied, and thereby also uh, all the disturbance cannot affect him. So two ways. One is by gnana, that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. And then when one is understands his relationship with Supreme Lord and engages in devotion service, because he becomes completely satisfied, uh, the disturbances don't affect him both ways. In contaminated consciousness, one sees everything to be for his own enjoyment, but in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he sees that everything exists for the enjoyment of the Supreme Enjoyer. Hmm. So we have to develop this pure consciousness. That is the difference between the dream state and wakefulness. The state of contaminated consciousness is compared to dream consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is compared to awakened stage of life. Actually, stated in Bhagavad Gita, the only absolute enjoyer is Krishna. One who can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds and that he is the friend of everyone is peaceful and independent. Independent because he doesn't become dependent on anybody. He's just simply dependent on Krishna and is very peaceful. Hmm. So, which means that if you are not peaceful, if you are agitated, etc., we are frustrated, we are upset, that means that we actually have not understood this. We have heard it, but we have not understood it. That Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds. As long as the conditioned soul does not have this knowledge, he wants to be the enjoyer of everything. He wants to become a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and open hospitals and schools for his fellow human beings. This is all illusion, for one cannot benefit anyone by such material activities. If one wishes to benefit his fellow brother, he must awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness. Krishna conscious person is that of conscious position is that of a pratibuddha, which means pure consciousness. So we can evaluate this saying that in a day, how much of my time is purely Krishna conscious and how much is not. And that shows the extent of progress that we have to make. So whatever we hear, we should try to understand, meaning accept, and that is gnana and vijnana. Otherwise, simple knowledge is will not help. Knowledge has to be applied in real life. Only then it will come into use. Evam vidita tattvasya prakritirmai manasam yunjato napak puruta atma ramasya karhichit. The influence of material nature cannot harm an enlightened soul, even though he engages in material activities, because he knows that the truth of the absolute, and his mind is fixed on the supreme person of God. So, because a person, enlightened soul, he knows the truth of the absolute. He knows the absolute truth, and his mind is fixed on supreme person of God. Because it's fixed on him, he's not the influence of material nature cannot harm him. Lord Kapila says, Mai Manasam, devotee whose mind is always fixed upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Is called Atma Rama or Vidita Tattva. Vidita Tattva means one who knows the truth. Atma Rama means one who rejoices in the self or one who enjoys in the spiritual atmosphere. Atma in the material sense means body or mind, but when referring to one whose mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord, Atma Rama means one who is fixed in spiritual activities in relationship with Supreme Lord. So this is the stage of Nishta, fixed. And then he becomes Atmarama because at Nishta stage is Brahma Bhuta stage, Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma. He becomes happy in the soul, activities of the soul. The Supreme Soul is the personality of God and the individual soul is the living entity. When they engage in reciprocation of service and benediction, meaning the Jiva does service and the Lord benedicts, the living entity is said to be in the Atma Rama position. This Atma Rama position can be attained by one who knows the truth as it is. The truth, what is the truth? The truth is that the Supreme Person of Godhead is the enjoyer, and living entities are meant for his service and enjoyment. This is the truth. Hmm. So one who knows this truth as it is, without any misinterpretation of the simple statement, he can come to the Atmarama position, meaning just do everything for Krishna's pleasure. One who knows this truth and who tries to engage all resources in the service of the Lord. See, all resources, mind, body, intelligence, wealth, family, everything. He escapes all material reactions and influences of the modes of material nature. He escapes because Krishna is assuring, Sarvadharman Parityaja. He's assuring, I will take care of everything. And also by the individual's progress in bhakti, he actually realizes that he is not the body, so he actually stops getting affected by things around him. An example may be cited in this connection. Just as a materialist engages in constructing a big skyscraper, a devotee engages in constructing a big temple for Vishnu. Superficially, the skyscraper constructor and temple constructor are on the same level, for both are collecting wood, stone, iron, and other building materials. But the person who constructs the skyscraper is a materialist, and the person who constructs the temple of Vishnu is Atma Rama. The materialist tries to satisfy himself in relation to his body by constructing a skyscraper, but the devotee tries to satisfy the super self, the supreme person of Godhead, by constructing the temple. Although both are engaged in the association of material activities, the devotee is liberated and the materialist is conditioned. This is because the devotee who is constructing the temple has fixed his mind upon the Supreme Person of Godhead. But the non devotee who is constructing the skyscraper has his mind fixed in sense gratification. If while performing any activity, even in material existence, one's mind is fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord, one will not be entangled or conditioned. The worker in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is always independent of the influence of material nature. So simply we have to engage everything in the pleasure of the Lord. Then our mind will be fixed on the Lord because everything we are doing, every moment we are doing for the pleasure of the Lord. So we have to keep trying this. This is the process of sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti doesn't just mean that, okay, I just did my rounds in the morning. Now, if our rounds is actually quality rounds, then two things will happen. First is we will develop a desire to hear. And when we develop a desire to hear and we hear, then we come to know, oh, okay, this is how I have to live, this is how my consciousness has to be. And automatically, we will start living in that way. Throughout the day, we will try to retain that consciousness that I'm the servant, Krishna is the enjoyer. That consciousness will pervade us. That's all. Then we achieve perfection in course of time. यदैवम् अध्यात्मरथः कालेन बहुजन्मना सर्वत्र जातवैराग्य ब्रह्मभुवनाम् मुनिः. When a person thus engages in devotion, service and self-realization for many, many years and births, he becomes completely reluctant to enjoy any one of the material planets, even up to the highest planet, which is known as Brahmaloka. He becomes fully developed in consciousness. And we don't have to be discouraged by this. This is a general rule. But for every yuga, for every time, every acharya has his own special mercy. Prabhupada has said, in this life, whoever practices Krishna consciousness, does quality pure 16 rounds chanting, and follows four regulative principles, Prabhupada will take us back home, back to God. We don't have to worry about having to do this for many, many years or lifetimes. Anyone engaged in the devotion service to the Supreme Lord is known as a devotee. But there's a distinction between pure devotees and mixed devotees. A mixed devotee engages in devotion service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in transcendental abode, in full bliss and knowledge. In material existence, when a devotee is not completely purified, he expects material benefit. Oh, this is should be pure devotee. Uh, Mixed devotee, he expects material benefit in the form of relief from material miseries, or he wants material gain, advancement in knowledge, of the relationship between Supreme Personality of Godhead and Jiva, or knowledge as to the real nature of the Lord. So, Gnana and Karma. He is expecting some material benefit, mixed devotee, but pure devotee, he is just engaged for the pleasure of the Lord. When a person is transcendental to these conditions, he is called a pure devotee. He does not engage himself in the service of the Lord for any material benefit or for understanding of the Supreme Lord. His one interest is that he loves the Supreme Lord and he spontaneously engages in satisfying him. The highest example of pure devotion service is that of the gopis in Vrindavan. They're not interested in understanding Krishna, but only in loving him. That platform of love is the pure state of devotional service. Now, this not interested in knowing him meaning because they already know him. They don't want to know him as a Supreme Lord. They don't want to know him as Paramatma. They don't want to know him as Brahman. They know him as Krishna, their Krishna, they know his likes, dislikes, and they want to just serve him for his pleasure. That's all. They just love him. We should not see this statement and say, okay, I will also now become uninterested in understanding Krishna. No, that's not for us. That's for gopis because they actually know, understand. Unless one is advanced to this pure stage of devotion service, there is a tendency to desire elevation to a higher material position. A mixed devotee may desire to enjoy a comfortable life on another planet with a greater span of life, such as on Brahmaloka. These are material desires, but because a mixed devotee engages in the service of the Lord, ultimately, after many, many lives of material enjoyment, he undoubtedly develops Krishna consciousness. So, a mixed devotee is not developed Krishna consciousness. He's just trying to enjoy. That's all. He's coming to Krishna. Prabhupada is saying for this devotee, many, many lives, he undoubtedly develops Krishna consciousness. And the symptom of this Krishna consciousness is now that no longer interested in any sort of materially elevated life. Now, intelligent people should think, why I already know this, that I should not be hankering about my behind material enjoyment. Why to do this and then simply waste many, many lives to just again come to the same state of not having any material desires? Why don't I do that this time only? That is intelligence. It's okay if our nature that we have acquired, whatever, if multiple impediments to this, But simply intelligent person should desire this, saying, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Why should I waste many lives? Okay, I want to achieve in one life. Then question comes, okay, how is it possible? What should I do? Just depend on Krishna, depend on Guru. That's all. Sincerely put effort, we'll reach the result. He does not even aspire to become a personality like Lord Brahma. So in one way, Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, is not very difficult. For a simple-minded person, it's not difficult. But for somebody who wants to complicate it, it becomes difficult. Even if a simple-minded person has material desires, when he reads something like this, it's okay, I don't want. It is simple. His life is simple. The needs are simple. He thinks simply. Even if he has money, Yukta Vairagya is like not affected by all this. Okay, it's okay. So it's not very difficult. We just have to be in the association of such devotees who don't have any of these material desires. And then we can understand, okay, it's not really difficult. I'm just thinking it's difficult because I'm not able to understand how it is possible. But when we are in the association, those devotees who are actually not materially attached, then we can understand, yeah, it's nice. And the devotee is also happy, even though he's not anchoring for material things. So why don't I also enjoy? I also come to the stage of bliss. 28, 29. Madbhakta pratibuddhartho matprasadena bhuyasa nishtesam swasamsthanam kaivalyakyam madashrayam prapnot tihanjasadhira स्वदृशा अच्छिन्न संशयः यत्कत्वा न निवर्तेत yogi lingad vinirgame. My devotee actually becomes self-realized by my unlimited causeless mercy. And thus, when freed from all doubts, he steadily progresses towards his destined abode, which is directly under the protection of my spiritual energy of unadulterated bliss. So this is the important point. Freed from all doubts. Should be free from all doubts. Yes, I'm very clear. I want to achieve Krishna in this life. Then one has to steadily make progress. We can't make abrupt progress, or we can't make very slow progress also. Steadily means, every now and then we should be moving forward. Hmm. That is the ultimate perfection goal of living entity. After giving up the present material body, the mystic devotee goes to the transcendental abode and never comes back. Actual self-realization means becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. The existence of a devotee implies the function of devotion and the object of devotion. Bhakti, Bhakta, Bhagavan. Self-realization ultimately means to understand personality of Godhead and the living entities, to know the individual self and the reciprocal exchanges of loving service between the Supreme Lord and the Jiva. That is self-realization. This cannot be attained by impersonalists or other transcendentalists. They cannot understand the science of devotion. Devotion service is revealed to the pure devotee by the unlimited causeless mercy of the Lord. So by my unlimited causeless mercy is especially spoken of here by the Lord. Mat prasadena, by my special grace, is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Only those who engage in devotional service with love and faith receive the necessary intelligence from the Supreme Lord, so that gradually and progressively they can advance to the abode of person of Godhead. Tadami buddhi yogam tham yena mam upayanti te. So Krishna uh, will give necessary intelligence, but to whom? One who has love and faith, both. He will get the necessary intelligence from the Supreme Lord Himself. Either Supreme Lord Himself, meaning either from outside as Guru or senior Vaishnavas, and inside as Paramatma, Chaitya Guru. Hmm. And naturally he gets the intelligence, necessary intelligence, by which he can advance to the abode, supreme abode. Nishreyasa means ultimate destination. Swasamsthana indicates that impersonalists have no particular place to stay. The impersonalists sacrifice their individuality so that the living spark can merge into the impersonal effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. But the devotee has a specific abode. The planets rest in the sunshine, but the sunshine itself has no particular resting place. When one reaches a particular planet, then he has a resting place. The spiritual sky, which is known as Kaivalya, is simply blissful light on all sides, and it is under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. The personal Brahman effulgence rests on the body of the Supreme Lord. In other words, the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Lord is Kaivalya, or impersonal Brahman. In that impersonal effulgence, there are spiritual planets, which are known as Vaikunthas, chief of which is Krishna Loka. Some devotees are elevated to the Vaikuntha planets and some are elevated to the planet Krishna Loka. According to the desire of the particular devotee, he is offered a particular abode, which is known as Swa Samsthana, his desired destination. By the grace of the Lord, the self-realized devotee engaged in devotional service understands his destination, even while in the material body. He understands because we are either attracted to Vishnu or Krishna or some other form of the Lord, so we know where we are heading. He therefore performs his devotional activities steadily, without doubting. After quitting his material body, at once reaches the destination for which he has prepared himself. After reaching that abode, he never comes back to this material. The words lingad vinirgame, which are used here, mean after being freed from the two kinds of material bodies, subtle and gross. Subtle body is made of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. Gross body is made of five elements: ether, earth, water, fire, air, ether. When one is transferred to the spiritual world, he gives up both the subtle and gross bodies of this material world. He enters the spiritual sky in his pure spiritual body and is stationed in one of the spiritual planets. Although the impersonalists also reach that spiritual sky after giving up the subtle and gross bodies, they are not placed in the spiritual planets. As they desire, they are allowed to merge in the spiritual effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. The word swasamsthanam is also very significant. As the living entity prepares himself, so he attains his abode. Meaning, according to his preparation, according to that, he will attain the abode. The impersonal Brahman effulgence is offered to the impersonalists. But those who want to associate with the Supreme Lord in his transcendental form is Narayana in the Vaikunthas, or with Krishna and Krishna Loka, go to those abodes where from they never return. So simply we have to engage steadily, free from all doubt, and by the unlimited causeless mercy of the Lord, we will achieve the supreme destination. And once having gone there, yadgatva na nivartante. Yeah, here also is it. Nivartate. Yadgatva na nivarteta. So you won't come back. Yada na yoga pachitasu cheto mayasu siddhasya vishajyatenga ananya hetushvanantha ananya hetushvatha megati syad atyantiki yatra na mrityuha saha. And a perfect yogi's attention is no longer attached to the byproducts of mystic powers, which are manifestations of the external energy. His progress towards me becomes unlimited, and thus the power of death cannot overcome him. Yogis are generally attracted to the byproducts of mystic power, yogic power, for they can become smaller than smallest, greater than greatest, anima, lagima, prapti, achieve anything they desire, have power even to create a planet, bring prakamya bring anyone they like under their subjection. Yogis who have incomplete information of the result of devotional service are attracted by these powers. But these powers are material. They have nothing to do with spiritual progress. As other material powers are created by material energy, mystic powers are also material. Perfect yogi's mind is not attracted by any material power, but is simply attracted by unalloyed service to the Supreme Lord. For a devotee, the process of merging into the Brahman effulgence is considered to be hellish, and the yogic power of preliminary perfection of yogic or the preliminary perfection of yogic power to be able to control the senses is automatically achieved. As for elevation to higher planets, devotee considers this to be simply hallucinatory. A devotee's attention is concentrated only upon the eternal living loving service of the Lord, and therefore the power of death has no influence over him. In such a devotional state, perfect yogi can attain the status of immortal knowledge and bliss. Satchidananda. So it's simple. It's very, very clear. We should not get distracted by anything. Should not get distracted by products of mystic powers, material sense gratification, gnana, la, puja, pratishtha, this, that, and all that. Simply, steadily, we should just progress towards achieving the ultimate goal, Krishna Prema. Okay, I think with this chapter ends. Next chapter is devotional service. So, mm, so 20. So devotional service, then adverse fruitive effects, fruitive activities. Um, yeah, entanglement, fruitive activities. So basically devotional service and then fruitive activities. That's what we will. So there's still 6 chapters. Okay, so we'll stop here. Anybody has anything to say? Feel free. Okay, then we'll end. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripas Devata. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Anakoti Vaishnava ki jai. Jai Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.